Mason Choate from hogbeat.com, publisher of Arkansas Rivals and the Diamond Hogs podcast as well. He's all over it for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and he joins us ahead of this weekend's matchup. I don't even know if you can say this weekend. This week with Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know how coaches and players are liking the Thursday, Friday, Saturday deal, especially with it's coming down the stretch here of the season. But I know for Vanderbilt, they got a break after MTSU. Their game against MTSU was canceled, and I think their pitchers might have liked that. So we'll get into more of that and Vanderbilt's health issues right now. But Mason, I want to start with the Arkansas Razorbacks and what you've seen from them this year. Obviously, you've been there in Fayetteville. I'm sure you've traveled with the team as well. We all know Dave Van Horn is one of the better coaches in the SEC. How has he been able to rally the troops after? I mean, they're one of the more depleted teams in the country with skill players, pitchers being down. So how has Coach Dave Van Horn been able to do that this year?
Yeah, no, it's been nothing short of incredible because you think about Dave Van Horn and you're like, okay, this guy, everybody knows that he's one of the best coaches in the country. And yet you're sitting here in year 20 and you're saying this is his best coaching job yet because of the injuries they've had. I mean, it's felt like every time there's a new injury, you're like, okay, that's the one that's going to break them. Like they cannot figure it out from here. You just can't do it. Yet they continue to do it. Like it's been very incredible. And what we've heard from Dave Van Horn, and this is a quote that has really stuck with me when I'm thinking about this team being, number one overall in the SEC right now. He just says that these guys just want to win. They don't care about anything else but winning. There's competition. There's guys who maybe should be playing over other guys or maybe feel like they should be playing over other guys, yet they don't care. It's not about that with this team. This team just wants to win ball games, and they continue to do that, and it's been very impressive so far.
I want to dive a little bit into their offense. Of course, the pitching was the story last weekend, and we'll get into Hunter Holland's performance. But Jace Bohrofen is a guy that has led the charge this year, 355, 13 home runs, 45 RBIs. You got Jared Wegner right behind him, Kendall Diggs. So, they've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys hitting over 300. Vanderbilt only has one right now. So Arkansas is up there in the SEC in terms of offensive production. What have you seen from them offensively, but also the Jace Bohrofen kid, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a transfer, correct?
Yeah, so Bohrofen transferred in from Oklahoma the year before last. So he was there last year as well, but it was a freak accident. He was battling as the left fielder with Zach Gregory, who's now at Grand Canyon. And like early in the year, Bohrofen ran into a wall just fielding fly balls in the outfield, and that set him back for a few weeks. And then he could never really recover and like break into the starting lineup from there. And it was a freak accident, like I said. But we heard from a scout at one of the fall scrimmages prior to last year. It was a Padre scout, and his quote on Jace Bohrofen was, "This guy can effing play." And so we knew that Jace had it in him. And now that he's healthy, now that he's had, he's able to play a full season, you're seeing Jace Bohrofen. He's climbing up draft boards. He's getting national attention. So I'm happy for Jace Bohrofen. But the crazy thing about it is two of the guys of those top 5 hitters who are hitting 300, they've been hurt. You mentioned Jared Wagner. It's weird because it's spelled Wagner, but it's pronounced Wagner.
I knew I pronounced that wrong.
Yeah, well, we were pronouncing it Wagner until like week 4, and then Dave Van Horn is like, by the way, Jared told the team that it's Wagner. And so
Who would have
then we
thought?
had to figure that out. But yeah, so Wagner and Tavian Josenberger, who's been their starting center fielder, they've both been hurt. Josenberger, he came back last weekend against South Carolina. He had a hamstring injury. A very good center fielder, a really good leadoff hitter. Transfer from Kansas. He's one of my favorite players to watch. But Wagner, he's had a broken thumb since, I mean, it's been a while. It's been over a month now. And so what we heard from Dave Van Horn on Tuesday was that Wagner is finally swinging. He took batting practice with the team for the first time. We don't know for sure if he's going to be able to go this weekend against Vanderbilt, but I would not be surprised if he makes his return this weekend against Vanderbilt. And that would be huge for Arkansas because he was the best hitter. He was hitting even better than Jace Bohrofen before he got hurt. So if they could get him back, it's just only adding to the talent that they have in this lineup.
Yeah, it's interesting that the injury concerns with Arkansas. Vanderbilt is dealing with some similar concerns, but on the pitching staff and at an awful time. So for Arkansas, and we've heard a lot of things about they're getting healthy at the right time. It looks like they're starting to get healthy. It looks like South Carolina is another team that's starting to get healthy. Would you agree with that? Like, is Arkansas, what percentage is Arkansas health wise? Coming into this weekend, because I think a lot of Vanderbilt fans would be interested to hear from a guy that's been there.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I could put a percentage on it, but I talked about the injuries in the lineup. A name I didn't even mention is Peyton Stovall, who I would be shocked if he plays this weekend. Right now it's leaning towards he might not play again this season, but we're hoping for an official update on that today. It'll be after we're recording this, but he's had a shoulder injury. It's been described as tendonitis. So I don't think he's going to play. Peyton Holt, he's a JUCO transfer. He'll probably start at second base, which is where Peyton Stovall plays. But you talk about the arms. Arkansas's projected ace, Jackson Wiggins, torn UCL before the season, hasn't thrown all year. They lost Cody Frank, torn lat. He was their top arm out of the bullpen. They just lost the guy who filled in for Cody Frank and stepped up when Cody Frank went down, Dylan Carter. He tore his UCL. He's done for the season. Brady Tigert, he had a sprained UCL and he missed some time. I think it was 8 weeks maybe. But he's back. He's still on a pitch count though. He'll probably start on Saturday. They're gonna go Hagen Smith, TBA, TBA. Like, I would be shocked if they don't do that with the rotation.
Gotcha.
But I don't know why he's doing that, because it's gonna be Hagen Smith, and then it's gonna be Brady Tiger, and then it's gonna be Hunter Holland. Like, that's probably gonna be the rotation unless something crazy happens. So, but yeah, those are the injured arms that I mentioned, and then hurt players. I think I got it. I think Stovall was the only one that I didn't mention. Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, it's a lot of names. We just spent like 10 minutes talking about injuries.
Yeah. So bottom line is they're somewhat healthier, but they're still not obviously to 100%. Nobody's 100% right now. Vanderbilt's not 100% either. You mentioned the pitching staff. Hagen Smith, a guy who obviously we saw what he did last year. He's a Hog for life. I feel like he's been there for 4 or 5 years, but he's a guy with a 2.47 ERA, 7-1, one of the better pitchers in the conference. Dylan Carter is a guy that's 6-0 right now. Hunter Holland 7-2, a lot of wins on this Arkansas pitching staff. I mean, have they surprised you this year? What can Vanderbilt expect out of this Razorback pitching staff this weekend?
So they've been figuring it out of like they can get the most out of the least amount of guys. So it feels like they've only had to throw 2 pitchers per game, and that's exactly what they did last weekend against South Carolina, except for on Sunday when Hunter Holland was like, "Hey, I'm going to do the whole thing." So yeah, it's been very impressive, and talking about the injuries that we just talked about, that makes it more impressive what they've been able to do and get out of some of their younger guys. I mean, Hagen Smith, you said it feels like he's been there forever. He's just a sophomore. So he's a guy that we watch him throw. It looks effortless, and it's almost like you can tell that he doesn't even have his best stuff, and he's just mowing down batters. And you're like, this isn't even like his potential. So
yeah, I guess I heard so much about him last year. He's he's everywhere.
Yeah, and everywhere being like, I mean, he's coming out of the bullpen. He started, like, he can do it all. They call him the wild card. So that's Hagen Smith. Hunter Holland, he's starting on Sundays. He was starting on Fridays for a little bit there. He's one of the top left-handed arms in college baseball. He's just really good. Went toe-to-toe with Paul Skeens in Baton Rouge, and Arkansas ended up winning that game. And you could make an argument that Hunter Holland, pitched a better game than Paul Skeens did, which was incredible. And then Will McIntyre, he was starting for a little bit there. Now he's coming out of the bullpen, which is what he was really good at last year. And so Saturday, it'll probably be Brady Tigert right to Will McIntyre. And that 1-2 punch has been really successful for Arkansas. Another name that you probably want to know is Gage Wood. He's a freshman, and he's fun to watch. He's emotional on the mound, in a good way. Once he gets a strikeout, he will let you know that he just struck you out. And he's fun to watch. He's like 94, 95 on the fastball, and he can put it where he wants it. And he's starting to get his off-speed stuff working really well for him. Those are the names to know. They have some other freshman guys that have been throwing more innings than probably expected, and you might have to see one of them, but they're probably hoping that they can get it done with those primary arms.
I want to get into Vanderbilt and kind of, the Vanderbilt perspective, from with the Arkansas coaching staff and things like that. But I got one more on Arkansas. We've known about their road struggles. Heck, everybody struggles on the road. This is the SEC. Is that a concern this weekend at all? I mean, Vanderbilt's not an intimidating atmosphere, but I think Missouri's not. But Vanderbilt went down and lost a game to Missouri, so every team seems to struggle on the road. So I guess from the Arkansas fan perspective, is there a little bit of a concern, or I mean, the fact I think they got some good Vanderbilt news, the fact that Carter Holton will be out this weekend. So I guess kind of where's the concern / confidence level from Razorback fans heading into this weekend?
I think when this specific team goes on the road, I think there is concern because they have a losing record. They're 6-7 on the road, but they're 30-4 at home. They have been incredible at home. And Dave Van Horn has talked about this. It's the exact opposite of last year's team. Last year's team was very good on the road. I mean, they had to go on the road for the regionals, the super regionals, and they were able to win through those, make it to Omaha. And this team, it's like you're looking ahead to the future, and you're like, if this team doesn't host a regional, doesn't host a super regional, they're going to be in trouble. So yeah, I think there is concern going on the road to Vanderbilt. It's not a Baum Walker or a Duty Noble, but that everybody knows that Vanderbilt fans like baseball, and they're going to support their team. So yeah, it's going to be tough, and there's more that factors into it than just playing in a different ballpark. You got to pack your stuff up, fly, bus. You're practicing on a different field, and it definitely doesn't help when you have guys like Arkansas, recovering from injury. Jared Wagner. Tavian Josenberger's still probably doing some stuff with the trainers. And so it's like you're picking everything up that you do when you're in Fayetteville, and now you're having to do it on the road. So, it's just you get uncomfortable, stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a little bit of concern there.
For Vanderbilt, they're a team that obviously is similar to Kentucky. Don't have a ton of power, right? They're a small ball slashing type of team. They like to run the bases, but when they don't get on base, there's the concern there. So I guess matchup wise, how do you like the matchup from the Arkansas perspective? Arkansas, their pitchers are hot right now. Hunter Holland, if he can pitch the way he did, I mean, I think Arkansas is threatening to win this series and potentially maybe sweep with the way Vanderbilt's playing right now. So, I mean, from the Vanderbilt perspective and matchup wise with Arkansas, what do you think about the matchup initially this weekend?
Yeah, no, it's weird that you say like Vanderbilt could get swept because from the Arkansas perspective, it's like, Arkansas could go down there and, you're coming off of 3 straight SEC series wins. You're due for a letdown. So that's kind of how it feels from the Arkansas perspective. But you are right. This team, it's playing very good baseball right now. It has momentum, especially from Hunter Holland's complete game on Sunday against South Carolina. But I think matchup wise, if Vanderbilt's a team that's not hitting a ton of home runs, Arkansas is a team that fields the ball very well. Dave Van Horn, known for being a guy who chooses defense over offense, for the most part. And there are some guys, specifically at shortstop, and John Bolton, who's actually hitting the ball really well as of late, which has been impressive. That's also led to Arkansas winning more games. But John Bolton's playing shortstop because he's a good defender. It's not because he's a lethal bat in the lineup. That's just how it is. But Dave Van Horn he brings in these guys, he puts them in the right spots, and it works out. So, if they pitch to contact for the most part, Hagen Smith, and maybe Gage Wood, those are the guys that are going to kind of blow you away with their speed, strike you out a little bit more. But for the most part, Arkansas's pitchers, they pitch to contact, and that's why they do that because they know they have a great defense behind them. So if that's the matchup you're looking at, I think Arkansas, has a little bit of an advantage there. if they are pitching to contact and the opponents aren't hitting the ball over the fence.
Yeah. Mace, I got a couple more here before I let you go. I like to ask everybody we have on each week previewing the weekend about the X factor, right? If this happens, Arkansas will likely win. But if this happens, I think Vanderbilt has a shot to win. So I guess in a roundabout way, what are the X factors for you in this matchup? And saying, hey, if this happens, Arkansas might win. But if this happens, Vanderbilt might have the edge.
I would probably say if Arkansas can get through game 1 and game 2 just throwing 4 pitchers, then Arkansas will probably win. So you're thinking Hagen Smith to Gage Wood on Friday night, or Thursday night, excuse me. You led with it being a series that starts on Thursday. That always gets me.
And it messes up with your schedule too, I'm sure, as a writer. It's like, we
Yeah,
got to start on Thursday this week.
yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate, but so Thursday, game 1, Hagen Smith to Gage Wood. If you can get that, and then Friday, Brady Tigert to Will McIntyre. If Arkansas is able to do that, at least win one of those, that's the X factor. Because if they're having to bring in arms that they don't want to bring in because they want to get through those 2 games with just 4 arms, that's when you're thinking, okay, well, something's gone wrong with one of those guys, one of the 4 arms total. And you're like, okay, what went wrong with them? Are they going to be able to throw again this weekend? Stuff like that. Of course, if they're starting like Tiger and Smith, they won't throw again. But if they could get 2 outings out of Gage Wood, that'd be big. So I think that's the X factor. 4 arms through the first 2 games.
Real quick, summer is out for most people. Nashville's a nice place to go. What do you think about the Arkansas fans and their contention? You think they'll be traveling this weekend? I know the basketball, when they played in Nashville, there was a good bit of Hawks fans there. So do you think there'll be a lot of red in Nashville this weekend?
Yeah, no. If you can give Arkansas fans any excuse to go to Nashville, I think that they will take that one. And a lot of the parents travel with the team, so you'll at least have that there. But I mean, we went to Starkville for the Mississippi State series, and there were a lot of Razorback fans there, and there were not very many Mississippi State fans because they're very upset with their baseball team. So, yeah, I think they'll travel well.
Mace, I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun when these two get together. If it's a top 15 matchup, it'll be interesting. You mentioned maybe the hangover factor, kind of the letdown factor for Arkansas, but for Vanderbilt, their backs are against the wall. So that should be fun to watch this weekend. And good luck with your covers. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoyed it.